Hello YouTube, this is Mahadeva the Thunder Wizard. And so, I want to share with you why Ganesha is so important to this current COVID-19 coronavirus lockdown situation. And I'm going to talk to you about it from an astrological perspective, maybe some things you didn't know, things that I certainly didn't know till I started hearing rumors about it. Before all this happened, I started hearing rumors from an astrological, in the astrology community, about something big is coming. And people were saying things like, it's going to be war with Iran or something like that. And, I tend to downplay those kinds of things because, most of you who know me, you know that I don't like that kind of victim mentality, end of the world nonsense. But now hindsight is 2020, so I'm going to take a look at it from an astrological perspective, and why Ganesha is so important to ending this lockdown and for the world coming back, to where it was before all this happened, and even better. Ganesha is extremely important for that. So in order to understand that, we need to understand who Ganesha is. Most of you know Ganesha as being the cute, funny, elephant-headed god that people worship in the beginning of things, for weddings or for success. Very popular with children. Very popular with wanting new beginnings or those kinds of things. But what people don't realize is that Ganesha is also the god having to do with life after death. And from an astrological perspective, Ganesha is associated with the south node of the moon, which is Ketu. So if you're not familiar with Vedic astrology, there's the north node of the moon and the south node of the moon. These are called the Karmic nodes. Without them, there would be nothing going on. There would be no births, there would be no deaths. Nothing would be happening. And these represent, in the case of Rahu, represents that which brings us into manifestation, and also represents all of our desires and ambitions, as well as our obsessions and our addictions. In other words, everything that brings us and keeps us trapped in this illusion of physical manifestation. Now, the opposite of that, connected to that, is Ketu. Ketu is the tail of the snake. Rahu is the head of the snake. And so Ketu represents destruction of the illusion of reality, represents leaving the body. And so we need to understand how Ketu has had a hand in what has been going on. And so what Ketu represents on the superficial level is an end, leaving this physical plane, leaving this world, cutting through the illusion to reality. But Rahu and Ketu are malefics, and they bring destruction and separation and isolation and these kinds of things. Now, what has been happening every 18 years, what has been happening is that Rahu and Ketu become aligned in specific nakshatras and specific signs. Now, as it turns out, this happens every time I go through a nodal return, which means that just the fact, right around the time when I was born, this was aligning up. So every time I go through this, my whole life changes. And I'm realizing now every time it's happened, there has been major upheaval in the world. So we need to invoke the power of Ketu to bring an end to this destructive period and bring a new beginning. And the way we do that is we worship Ganesha. And again, this is the beauty of how it's set up. If you understood that worshiping Ganesha was basically appealing to the god of death and destruction that has brought all of the destruction to this current reality, we might not do it. So that's why Ganesha is associated with such wonderful, cute things as little kids. But what are little kids? They are coming back. They were souls that went that are the closest to the infinite. In fact, a lot of little kids, if you listen to them, they'll tell you about what it was like. And there's been wonderful quotes from little kids, talking like 4 or 5 years old, who start saying, "I'm forgetting where I came from." That they remember that they came from this other place of power and spirit, and they realize that they're starting to forget. And I can remember one of my first memories. I was 4 years old. I remember it very clearly. And I just happened to be standing in my driveway and looking down the driveway of the house that I lived at when I was 4 years old. But I remember looking down the driveway and I had this feeling, I'm never going to die. It wasn't that I thought that I might physically live forever, but that my essence was eternal, and I knew it. I was like, in my little 4-year-old brain, it's impossible. This can't die. I've been alive forever. I will be alive forever in this essence of who I was. And that was my experience of, as I'm coming in this manifestation, I was remembering where I came from. So Ketu brings this knowledge of where we came from and resetting. And so as it happens, every time my life goes through a reset, it also happens on the global stage. Specifically, if we're going to get specific, then I got to get more specific with you. But the last time that we had the scenario that we had earlier, it's changed. So you should know that. The planets have now moved. They've moved out of where they were. But I did a couple of videos on it. Rahu and Ketu in Mula and Aridra. And I can remember reading, like I'm reading here, I'm looking at an article from a Vedic astrologer who's basically saying that every 18 years when this happens, there is major, huge, global, destructive shifting that happens. Now, we've passed through it. What we're experiencing now is the after effects of it. But we're actually through it now. So that's important to understand. But the last time that this happened was 9/11. 9/11, Rahu and Ketu came over these same nodal places where, let's see if I can find out, because I had to do research as well. But it's basically Rahu and Ketu are transiting their own nakshatras of Ardra and Mula. So Rahu and Ketu own these. And so it's like they're going to their home. And what do? They bring karmic shifts. And so Rahu represents, among other things, Rahu represents viruses. Now, an interesting thing happened not too long ago. I've shared about it. It was after the coronavirus had taken hold in China, but it wasn't a huge global-wide pandemic yet. And everywhere I was going for a couple of days, I saw snakes. I think I was walking down here. I'm in Australia right now, and we got a lot of snakes here. And I was walking along the path along the cliffs there, and there's a snake all over Australia. It's like the most poisonous snake there is, but it's very common, so it's not a big deal. And it's not dangerous to people unless you basically chase it down and step on its tail. you don't have anything to worry about. As long as you clap and let it know it's there, it'll slither away. And as I'm walking on the path, this brown snake comes and slithers in front of me. Oh, actually, it went from right to left. It slithered in front of me, and then it stayed, just kind of messing around in the grass next to me. And it looked at me, and I looked at it, and I took a couple of steps back, and then it felt safe, and then it crossed again. So crossed my path twice, and I thought, that's interesting. And then just a couple of days later, as I was doing one of my live presentations, I'm looking out of my driveway, and there's this python slithering up my driveway. And when I ended it, it was still there, and I said, "Oh my gosh, I am not going to let that thing in the house," because it was coming its way up. It looked like, well, it was making its way up the driveway, and it was going to come. If it kept going, it was going to get to the house. And I'm like, I don't want that thing slithering around somewhere and then sneaking into the garage. I don't want that happening. So I took a broom and I walked down there, and I tapped on the ground to try and startle it, get its attention so I could scare it off, and it wouldn't move. And I got there and it was dead. It had died on the property. It had literally come up the driveway, and as soon as it passed it's up the driveway, and then the property line is here. It literally, its head passed the property line and died. I don't know what killed it, but that symbol was just too much of a huge symbol for me not to take seriously. So I took that as a very serious sign. I had some ideas about what I thought it was, but now I'm pretty certain that what it was is that was my one of my guides giving me very clear message that you don't have to worry about this virus getting to you. You're safe. It's not gonna make its way onto your life or your property. So that's how I took that to mean. But Rahu represents snakes, and snakes represent poison, which is things like viruses. And Ketu was in Mula. Mula is literally the center of the universe, of our universe, the center of our galaxy. And if you know anything, the center of our galaxy is a black hole. You can't get any closer to death and rebirth than the black hole. And so Ketu, who represents the black hole, was sitting right there in his own house. And that was when the stage was set for this now global pandemic. It's a big deal. I've never seen anything like this in my whole life. Not the whole world. I've never seen the whole world go into lockdown like this, ever. And so this is definitely a huge thing. So now I know. Now I know what people have been talking about this whole time. Astrologers were saying, yep, something big is coming, and they thought it was going to be war with Iran, war with China, and I'm like, now I know. It happened 9/11, same thing. Worldwide, the whole world stopped, same thing, flights stopped, everything stopped during, right after 9/11. And everybody in the beginning, it changed very rapidly, unfortunately. But in the beginning, everybody stopped. And everybody across the world, I remember I was there. Everybody stopped and had nothing but compassion for the United States, including Iran, by the way. The Iranian people back then, right after 9/11, were so behind us. And the whole world was 100% emotionally behind us. And then we started going to war over other things, and the world was no longer with the United States as a whole like that. We're in that situation now where everybody stopped because we have this enemy that we're fighting that doesn't care about borders or language or religion or culture or ethnicity. It's going after everybody. And so everybody now is thinking, we're one people. We're the human race first. We can get back to fighting with ourselves later, but right now we got to make sure that everybody, even our enemies, don't get this, because if they're going to get it, we're going to get it. So we got to stop this whole thing. So this is one of the things that Rahu and Ketu do when they come into their own thing. So I'm seeing people coming on. Let me explain to you how this works. This is a question and answer. So when I get to the point when I open it up for questions, then write the word question. And if you have an honest question for me, having to do with anything I teach or what I'm saying, you're welcome. I'm really not interested in your conspiracy theories or your thoughts or your blah, blah, blah. Nothing personal. I know that most of these it's a free for all and people can just spout whatever the hell they want. I don't want to do that here. This is a question and answer. So if you have a question, feel free to ask it. Otherwise, I'm just going to bypass it. And if you're annoying, I'll block you. All right. So, what was I saying? So Ketu now has done his job. He did his job when he lined up with his black hole essence, the most spiritual place in the universe, by the way. He lined himself up in that and then released this worldwide, everybody wake up. Did it in 9/11. When I was born, the year I was born, right after I was born, guess what happened? Can any of you remember that far back? President Kennedy was shot. Huge worldwide. Before that, 18 years before, I don't know if it was 18 years, but the last time that Rahu and Ketu lined up, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Huge, huge, destructive, everything in the world stops and has to look at it. Everything changed from that moment on. Everything changed. There wasn't anybody in any kind of civilized place in the world that didn't go, they did what? Holy crap. And everybody went, the world is different now. It is not the same anymore. Happens every time. So, now that I know that, I can look forward to that every time I go through a nodal return. I don't know how many I have left. Hopefully I have at least one or two left. But how we respond to this is a karmic reset for the world. How we choose to respond to this will literally determine what time path we take. It'll determine everything. How we choose to respond to this. And if people choose to respond out of their higher vibrational human mentality, which is, by the way, not buying into all of the conspiracy theory garbage. The more that you buy into that, you're setting yourself up for a worse thing. This is how it works. This is how this universe works. When these lessons come, if you don't pay attention, the universe goes, all right, they want to do this the hard way. That's the way you want to play this? Okay, here it comes. I could go into some specifics, but I don't really want to get into in time for that. There isn't time for that. So that's what happens every time the Rahu and Ketu get together. So now Ketu has done his job, and he has stopped the world, and he's brought everybody to an awareness of, holy crap, what's going on here? We got to come together and be, a unified human race. And now is the time to worship Ganesha, because Ganesha is the happy face of Ketu. It's Ketu after Ketu has destroyed whatever was out of balance, and now create a new beginning. Because Ganesha is Ketu, the new beginning that Ganesha creates, which has to do with manifesting, means that Ganesha says, I'll manifest as long as it has a spiritual focus. Because remember, what Ketu wants to do is destroy this physical illusion of reality. That's why he's associated with death. The end of leaving this body, leaving this matrix, leaving this three-dimensional Maya, this illusion. Once he takes you out of that, then if there's going to be creation, it has to be focused with a spiritual goal in mind. So whenever you worship Ganesha and you're wanting, for children, because children represent the new beginning, a soul coming back into this world and starting all over again and going hopefully to a higher level of awareness. We do it when we create a business. You worship Ganesha. When you create a business, he brings prosperity. It means that the prosperity that he brings isn't just money, money, money. It means here are resources. Create a business that helps people move forward. Whether you're being, whether you're, a phone salesman or you're a spiritual guru. Whatever it is that you're doing, if you're selling phones, it's because you are doing it with the intention of helping humanity go up the next level. What Ganesha says is, I'm not going to manifest ridiculousness. I destroyed the last ridiculousness over there. Let's create something more connected to spirituality. If you're focused on your spiritual development and your spiritual evolution, I will manifest it for you. This is what Ketu is saying. And so the reason why Ganesha is Ketu, if you don't know, is because Ganesha is an elephant-headed boy. That's why he has a big stomach, because little kids are fat. He's a fat little kid. He's not a big man, he's a fat little kid. And he's got the head of a baby elephant. And the reason why that happened was because his mother, Parvati, the Earth Mother, she represents manifestation of Earth. She represents Maya. She represents Kundalini manifesting in three-dimensional reality. She was very upset because Shiva had gone off to meditate. Shiva had gone off to meditate, and when Shiva meditates, he stays away for thousands of years. He says, I'm just going to meditate for 10 minutes. I just need to relax. But he's gone for thousands of years because he has no concept of time. And she's very upset, so she went to go take a bath. And she's in the bathtub, and she is the earth. So she's cleansing herself and all this mud. And she starts, because she's lonely, she creates a boy out of her own flesh and then puts life in it. This is Ganesha, the most powerful being in the created universe. She has created him. And she's angry and she's upset. She goes, go stand guard. Don't let anybody in. She's in the bathtub and she's upset. Who knows what she's doing, filing her nails or whatever the hell she does, clipping her toenails. I don't know. She's upset. So Ganesha only has one parent, and that's Mother, the earth. Shiva comes back from his 1,000 years of meditation, and all of the gods are standing around because things are starting to fall apart because Parvati is not doing her job. She's just sitting in the bathtub fuming, and nobody has the balls to go anywhere near her because Ganesha is standing at the door, and he's the most powerful being in the universe. And Shiva shows up, and Vishnu says, hey man, you got to do something about this. And he goes, what do you want me to do? I mean, it's my son. He's like, dude, that's your house. You got to take control. You got to go in there. You got to get her out of there. You got to get her doing her job. This is your wife. You go get your wife in order. What kind of a man are you? And so Shiva walks up to the door, and there's Ganesha, and Ganesha says, I can't let you pass. And he says, my young son, this is my house. He goes, I don't know who you are. I've never seen you before in my life. That's my mom in there, and I'm not letting you pass. And everybody's afraid, and so he goes back and says, I don't know what to do, Vishnu. The kid's sitting in front of my house. My wife's in there. I don't want to kill him. It's like, what are you going to do, man? You're Lord of the universe. You can't let him get away with this. Go get your personal life in order. So Shiva walks up and he opens up his third eye. Out comes the laser beam, and it fries off Ganesha's little head. Falls down dead. Of course, Parvati feels this because it's her flesh that he's done that, and she screams a blood-curdling scream, and there's a huge earthquake, and the universe starts coming apart. And she comes out there dripping wet, naked, and screaming, what have you done? And he says, I had to do it. You wouldn't let me in. You better find a head for him right now, mister, or you're in big trouble. So she says, all right, okay, fine. And he goes and he finds this elephant that's dying, and he grabs the head of the elephant, puts it on Ganesha's head, screws it on, boink. Now you have the merging of the wisdom, which is Shiva, spiritual wisdom, with the power of this manifested Maya. This is what Ganesha is. This is why Ganesha is Ketu, because Ketu doesn't have a head. Rahu is the severed head of the snake. Ketu is the headless body of the snake. Ketu doesn't have a head. He can't see. He has no desires. He doesn't care about any of this. He's pure, 100% shamanic, empathic ability. Doesn't see anything. He doesn't know the difference between you and somebody else. So Ganesha represents the earth again, because this is an elephant, the wisdom of the elephant, the power of the earth. And now the god of destruction becomes the god of new beginnings. So we need to focus on this. We've gone through the destructive period. The collective head of human consciousness has been burned off with this. I mean, now I'm starting to go, oh, I didn't take this thing very seriously. I got to be honest with you. I was like, yeah, this is going to pass. It's going to be gone. But then here I am in Australia. They've locked down everything. In fact, I was just on the phone with somebody in the States, and even in the States, which has it a hell of a lot worse than us, things aren't nearly as locked down all over the country as it is here. I mean, I'm in a very low-risk area, and everything's locked down. I made a joke about it last night. I mean, you can't go anywhere except, for some reason, you can go and get your hair cut and have the barber standing in front of you breathing on you for 30 minutes or more. And somehow that's okay. But going to get a massage where you're face down and somebody isn't breathing in your face, somehow that's not okay. But it's okay to get your hair done. But everything else is just dead. You can't go to the gym. You can't go anywhere except to the grocery store and to get your hair done. So it's like, wow. And there's no flights in or out. And they're saying this is going to go on for 6 months. I don't think that's going to happen. To be truthful, I don't think it's going to last 6 months. But people are prepared to do that. It's a big deal. So there is a mantra for Ganesha that I want to share with you, and then I'll get to answering questions if there are any. And this mantra I'll write for you. This is a mantra which is said to get rid of anger. But the end result of it is that it connects you to the entire universe. The reason why it's used for anger is because when you're angry, it's because something is threatened. And you're angry about it. That's what anger is. Whenever you're angry, it's because you feel threatened. It's a defense response. So there is a version of Ganesha called Lambodara, which means big bellied. And his belly is the universe. And his belly is big because he's completely satiated with the universe. So he's content. So when you chant Om Lambodara Hum, you become connected to all of infinity. And then you feel safe. Now, I chose this because, there's a lot of people, people who have families or people who are in relationships, then they're locked in with each other, which can be a good or a bad thing, depending on what it is. But there's a lot of people like me that I'm stuck here by myself. All the things I would normally do to go connect with people, I can't do. And people don't want to, they're afraid to touch each other and get close. And you can't hug anybody. It's crazy. So Lambodara gives you the feeling of being connected to everything and everybody. It makes you realize you are one with everything and everybody. So by chanting Om Lambodara Hum, Hum is a mantra weapon. And it's used to purify, to destroy negativity. So by doing that, we can destroy the negativity that has created this, which is now separating, and at the same time unifying us in this really strange way. So there's that mantra. I'll chant it a few more times if you want, and you can do it yourself. Om Lambodara Hum. Om Lambodara Hum. Om Lambodara Hum. You'll notice in the beginning I've got it O-N-G. Most people don't realize that the O-M for Om is actually an N-G sound. You can do it with your lips closed, but you have to connect the tongue to the roof of the mouth, that that stimulates the pineal and the pituitary gland. There's a lot of mantras like that. People don't realize there's an NG to it. So Om is not just OM, it's ONG. Om. Om Lambodharaya Hum. Right? And when you say Hum, you have to put that emphasis, Hum, into it, because it's a weapon and you're using it to destroy negativity. You want this lockdown to end? Put some effort into spiritually destroying all of the things that are coming out. And just by using that, you're destroying disease, just by using that sound. All right? So there's some of my thoughts about that. I'll be happy to take a look at people's questions. So there's somebody on here who is actually quite smart. And just by looking at their name, actually I did the same thing with my name. It tells you exactly what they do. So if anybody wants custom made incense, we got a custom made incense person here. You don't even have to ask, what is it that you do? You don't have to worry about spamming, because just by showing up, you're already giving people what you do. By the way, anytime people that leave comments with links, if you're wondering if you've left like a comment and you left like a video link, why that never showed up in the comments, it's because it's automatically held as spam, and I always get rid of those because I'm not here to promote somebody else's channel. I'm here to promote mine. So if you ever leave a YouTube link in the comments, I'm going to delete it. I want people to stay on my channel. I don't want them going somewhere else. So let's see. Stephen Strickland, that is not a question. I'm only looking for a question. Maybe you're new to the channel, so you don't know any better, and that's all right. So I'm not going to read that, and we'll get to whatever the questions are. Dean Nevin's question, who is the Norse version of Ketu? I don't know of one. I don't know of one. Loki is the equivalent of Rahu, but he could also be the equivalent of Ketu if we go that route, because actually, now that I'm thinking about it, Mimir, if we're just going by the symbolism of the severed head, that would be Rahu as well. I don't know that there is a Ketu. If I had to pick one, I would pick that Loki represents both, because in the myth, when they capture Loki and they tie him, underneath the earth, they put a snake above him, and so the venom of the snake is dripping onto him, and his wife is holding the bowl underneath, and every time she goes to toss the bowl, he gets hit with the venom of the snake, and then he writhes, which creates an earthquake. So, but to be honest, I don't have an equivalent. There may not be one. Again, I'm just looking for the questions, guys. I don't see any questions here. Question, what did I do with a dead python? What I did was I took that same, I left it there for a day and kind of wondered, because it was kind of such a big, I didn't leave it in the driveway. I pulled it over, in the grass up off the street. And I thought, people have to walk by, and I thought it's going to take a while for that thing to decompose. So after a day or two, I took the broom pole that I was using, and I just picked it up and I just carried it, all the way over across past all of the houses to this big forested bush area, and I just threw him in the bushes. So he can decompose in the bushes there. I don't know why you're asking me that. I don't have a knife. I didn't like skin him and turn it into a snake skin boot or anything like that. I don't see any more questions here. So you know how it works. If you don't have any questions, then I gotta do something entertaining so that I don't get bored. So let's get to, where do I want to go with that? Let's go here. Hey there, pay attention. This is Arnold. I have a very important announcement. I am going to be running for President of the United States for 2020. Listen to me now and vote for me later. Hi, this is Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I'm going to be running for the President of the United States of the world. Listen, the United States is the most pumped country in the world. We have the most pumped people. We have the most pumped democracy the world has ever seen. We used to be so pumped in the world. Everybody had respect for us. My God, we were so totally pumped. Nobody would dare look us in the eyes. We won every single war there ever was. We won the War of Independence. We said to you, hey, England, you British Empire, forget about you. We are more pumped than you. And we won that war. And then there was the First World War. We won that. Here, Europe was fighting with itself. European countries were saying, hey, I don't like you. Hey, I don't like you. They're fighting like that. And then America, looking from across the ocean, said, hey, what are you guys doing? What's wrong with you? Come on, knock it off. And we came over there and we won that war. And then there was the Second World War. And it was all the same kind of things going on. Europe is fighting with each other and the Nazis are taking over all of Europe. And then they start bombing London. And we're watching. And then finally the Japanese come to us and they slap us in the face. And we go, hey, what's going on here? What's wrong with you guys? And we went to the whole world and we pumped and we flexed in front of the whole world. And we won that war too. But that's not what's happening anymore. The United States is not as pumped as it used to be. Nobody respects us like they used to before. Now we are old and flabby and out of shape. We put a big smile on our face and say, hey, we're the United States. Yeah, we're still pumped. But we got this guy running the whole country who thinks that he can just grab the whole world by the private parts. And the world is going, hey, you cannot grab me there anymore. I don't think you are pumped. And they're not listening to us. But I'm telling you now, and you are going to vote for me later, I'm going to come in there and I'm going to make the world a better place because I am going to pump up the United States one more time. And I know, yeah, they say, Arnold, you cannot be president. You were not born here. Hey, it doesn't matter if this guy who becomes the worst kind of idiot in the world goes around grabbing the world by its private parts. This guy can become president. I'm going to say, as Lord Pindar, ruler of the universe, I am going to say that I, Arnold Schwarzenegger, can become president if I decide to. So my new catchphrase is, make America pumped again. But in reality, we're going to make the world pumped again. And when I become president, I am going to legislate. The first thing that I do when I get into office, I'm going to sign the thing, I'm going to hold it up to the camera, and then everybody is required to go to thunderwizard.com and they're going to subscribe. They're going to hit the bell button. They're going to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Then they're going to go to thunderwizard.com website. And then they're going to subscribe there too. And then they're going to go to courses.thunderwizard.com and they're going to buy all of the products, all of the books, all of the services that this guy, I'm telling you, the Shaminator, that guy is really, really pumped in the spirit. He's going to pump you up so good spiritually, you're not even going to believe it. So that's it. Get ready, because here I come, world. The world is going to get pumped again, and there's nothing you can do about it. All right, I'll talk to you later. All right, I'm going to check and see. I have so many different linky things here. Let's see, what is this? I don't think that, no, that is just, all right. Well, while I'm talking about that, I might as well talk about it while we're here. So, lockdown.thunderwizard.com. That is something that I created once this whole lockdown came into effect. $3,214 off if you were to buy all of my video teachings plus 4 different personal sessions with me in different ways, which I won't take the time to explain here. I created this because, you know, people are getting hit really hard. I mean, there's this, if this continues to go on, it's going to have just a huge impact on the economy. And so I want to do my part to, you know, do something to help. So go to lockdown.thunderwizard.com if you want to take a look at that. You know, because there are people that are going to be stuck at home and aren't going to be able to do anything, not going to be able to work, not going to be able to do all kinds of stuff they would normally do. And there's only so much Netflix you can watch, you know. So this will give you an opportunity to get started. If you wanted to learn runes, you wanted to learn astrology, you wanted to learn about the matrix, go check that out. And then there's 4 sessions that you get with me, which the price of the lockdown package is already, you know, that's basically all you would be paying for, is just the private sessions with me. And then on top of that, I give you, you know, $3,000 worth of teachings for free, basically. So take advantage of that, because if we continue to do this Ganesha mantra and we continue to spiritually reset ourselves, I think this lockdown won't last forever. That's my feeling. Let's take a look and see what's going on. If there are any more questions. Custom-made incense is going to send me some incense. That'll be nice. Wander, question. My Ishta and Dharma Devata is, in case you don't know what he's talking about, we're talking about Vedic astrology. If you go to courses.thunderwizard.com, you will see that there is a Vedic astrology reading. You can get one from me or one of my apprentices. And in that reading, what I do is I give you things that you're not going to get in other Vedic astrology readings. I have gotten the things that I have found to be most important that never change. Most of the time when people go for readings, they go for things like what's going to happen this year, and, you know, when should I get married, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's very temporary. I wanted to focus on the things that never change, and that you no matter what, if you focus on these things, you can make your life better. What can I do now? So he's talking about the 3 planets. The planet for your conscious mind is called the Ishta Devata. Planet for your unconscious mind is called the Dharma Devata. And the planet for your subconscious mind is called the Palana Devata. So one deals with your conscious mind. The other one is how to help you find your true path that's locked away in your unconscious. And the other one is how you can intend your physical reality and have all of the things that you need to keep yourself going physically, money-wise, and things. So you can worship different deities and do different mantras for these things. And this is something we give in the reading. So he's asking about that. He says, question. My Ishta and Dharma Devata is... Oh, so you have one planet that is both your Ishta and your Dharma Devata. So when I see that in a chart, that usually is a slam dunk. It means this planet says, no, me. I'm the one you're supposed to do mantra and worship to. So for him, it's Mercury. Mercury in Virgo in the 8th house. Which deities are associated? So Wanderer, have I done your reading? Because if I had done your reading, I would have told you that. You would have that in your notes. So that is a long question, which means I have to go do some research. I can't give that to you off the top of my head, and it wouldn't be fair, because when people get readings from me, I put time and effort into researching that, and I put it in their notes. So if you want that, astrology.thunderwizard.com. Other than that, I can just tell you right off the bat that, you know, anything having to do with Mercury, you know, Odin is one example. He may not be the perfect one just based on the sound of the syllable of his name. I haven't looked at it, I don't know. But Odin would be one example, and Vishnu would be another example, and Buddha, the Buddha himself. Those are 3 Mercury deities that you can choose to work with. Other than that, if you want me to get really specific, I'd have to give you a reading. And if I've given you a reading, you should already know that. It'll be in your notes. Wanderer threw down $4.99. Thank you, sir. High Plains Drifter question. This is off the subject, but you have mentioned before that you had casted out demons. The past tense of cast is cast. You had cast out demons during an exorcism in the name of Jesus. How is that possible if you're not even sure he existed? I explained it, but I will explain it again. What frightens away negative entities is your soul. So whatever connects you to your soul and gives you the feeling of being connected to your soul, that is what drives them away. If somebody lives in a haunted house, if somebody is being bothered by demons, if somebody is possessed, it means they are actually unconsciously attracting them. So that's why I stopped doing exorcisms, because I realized that these people on an unconscious level were trying to distract themselves from their own feelings, which were far more frightening than whatever the demon was doing to them. So when it comes to casting out demons, whatever makes you feel, and at that time I was a Christian, and my spiritual identity was strongly associated with that. So for me to use the name of Jesus was actually very empowering for me. Now, there were other beings in the room, because the first time I did it, first time I'd ever done it, the person completely physically changed. Not just a little bit. If I showed you two pictures of before and after, you wouldn't think that the other one was a human. Everything about it had completely changed. And so when I was doing the in Jesus' name and I was putting my hand on his chest, he was backing away from my hand like it was burning him. But at the same time, he was looking behind me in fear, and there was something behind me that he was really afraid of. And so, number one, I wasn't by myself, which is why nobody should play around with this stuff. And like when I watch these ghost shows where guys go into haunted places where they think they're actually negative evil spirits there, and people these idiots go in there and try and provoke those spirits to do stuff. You're asking for trouble. If you don't know what you're doing and you're not empowered to do so, leave them the hell alone. Don't go looking for it. That's like it's like going into a bad neighborhood and wearing a sheriff's outfit and a plastic sheriff's badge and a toy gun. You're just asking for trouble. So the two-part answer to your question is I believed it, and because it was part of my identity, it connected me to my soul, which gave me infinite power, and somebody else was in there helping me. Can't tell you who it was. At the time I thought it was, an angel of God or whatever. I don't know who it was. But there was something behind me that thing was deathly afraid of. And to be clear, I don't think Jesus, it's not that I'm not sure he existed. I'm absolutely convinced he didn't exist. He's a made-up individual. There was never a man named Jesus of Nazareth. He never existed. He's a completely fictional character. Dean Nevin's question, is Odin the Norse deity that traverses the 9 worlds the most? I would say yes to that. Does he have a significant relationship to time or time travel? I haven't thought about him in that way, so I can't answer yes or no. It's an interesting idea, but I haven't thought about it like that. That's not the first thing I think of. So I would say Dean Nevin's, meditate on that, because I'd be very interested to hear what your thoughts are on it. Dean Nevins is one of my apprentices, by the way. Iowa X question. I have been studying Vedic astrology for several years. What could you add to my studies? How the hell am I supposed to know? What do you want me to do? Are you trying to get me to sell myself? I don't know. If you really want to know, you can go to, go to courses.thunderwizard.com, and you'll see a link that will take you to my Vedic astrology course. And I'm sure there's a video of me talking about what I teach. I'm not even going to try. If you've been studying for several years, you might know more than me. So I'm not here to compete with you or try and sell myself on you. If anything I've said so far is something that you're not completely familiar with, maybe I know something you don't. I spend a lot of time on the Aruda Lagna and showing people how the Aruda Lagna tells them what they need to do for a living that will make them successful and rich. If you don't know what that is, then I may know something you don't. There's a good chance you know things I don't. So I can't answer that question, and I'm not even going to try. If you don't think I have anything to offer you, there's no shortage of Vedic astrology courses out there. Be my guest. In fact, I'm going to try and get one on the channel. I'm going to try a guy that I've worked with who I've now come to realize has a channel. I'm going to try and contact him and see if he wants to come on the channel. Let me interview him. We'll see. Maybe that'll help his business too. Saturn's guru. So somebody is the guru to Saturn. That makes you a very powerful person. If Saturn comes to you, Saturn, the god of karma and death and time and hard work, comes to you and sits at your feet, then you are a very powerful person indeed. I got your reading 2017, and wow, total next level stuff took me from my glass. Okay, great. Thank you for that. Wasn't a question, but that was a nice thing to say. Thank you. Riho Rasta, question. I have been always doing my Qigong facing northwest or north. Why do you prefer northeast? Should I change my direction? I don't know that I prefer northeast. And if I've given you the feeling that I prefer northeast for anything, then it's been taken out of context. The northeast is the best direction, generally speaking, for an altar. I don't have a problem with you doing Qigong in any direction whatsoever. Follow your instincts. If your instincts wants to do it in the northeast, do it in the northeast. If it wants to be in the northwest, do it in the northwest. I don't say that you have to focus one area to do your Qigong. If you get an astrology reading from me, which I think, Riho, you have, then I will tell you what is the best direction to face for the specific mantra that I've given you that's based in your chart. It's another reason, Iowa X, do you know how that works? Do you know how to give somebody a mantra based on their astrology? Do you know which planet they need to worship? Do you know which deity among, let's say, Mars, among all the Mars deities, which one do they need to worship? And which direction do they need to face? And which element do they need to offer? If you know all of that, then you don't need to learn from me. Those are the kinds of things that you learn from me. If you go here to lockdown.thunderwizard.com, you get that. You get not only, it's crazy. I'm crazy stupid for giving all that stuff away. But we're in a crazy stupid time, so it'll be worth it. Should I change my direction? No, Riho Rasta, you don't need to change your direction. So Riho, my experience of you is sometimes you get too caught up in the details. Just trust what you've been given. If I've given you specific directions, follow them. If I haven't given you specific directions, follow your instinct. Okay? Don't worry about getting it perfect. Just do your best. You'll be fine. But that's because you have an exacting mind. So I understand why you want to figure it out. So I'm not trying to criticize you. Saturn's guru, question. What is the Norse-Vedic connection? Well, Saturn's guru, you're new to my channel, yes? If you go to courses.thunderwizard.com, go to my books and look for the book. There's a couple of them. Mounting Sleipnir, and that's the one. I think that's the biggest one. Mounting Sleipnir. Read that book and you'll see what the Vedic Norse connection is. Short answer is that the Norse, which is true for all of the Germanic peoples, the Slavic peoples, the Celtic peoples, the Vedic people, the original Iranian people, the Persians, and other people in the Near East, not all of them, they are all what's known as Indo-Europeans, meaning that they all speak a common language. You don't realize it, but the language I'm speaking now and Sanskrit is the same language, separated by thousands of years, and they've changed, but it is the same language. It's just two dialects of the same language. Now, the connection is that the Vedics and the Greeks, I forgot about them, the Greeks, the Romans, I forgot about them as well. The Greeks, the Romans, the Norse, the Vedic, they all worship the same deities. They just slight different pronunciation in the name. It's the same cultural. Now, I don't look like an East Indian, and the reason for that is because my Indo-European ancestors, when they got to the Northern Hemisphere, they went up into Northern Europe and settled into what is now um, Scandinavia. And they spent 40,000 years in ice ages, and they lost all of the pigment in their skin. The Vedic, the Aryans, by the way, they got that all wrong. Aryans are not European. The Aryans are a whole other Indo-European people that came down. They were slightly north of Afghanistan, of Pakistan, and they came down into Pakistan, into India. But they weren't Europeans. So the Aryans were not blonde-haired, blue-eyed people, to my knowledge, anyway. So all of these different Indo-European people, when they hit the Northern Hemisphere, went in a bunch of different directions, and over the 50,000 years of changes, their ethnicity changed, their DNA changed, but their language and their religion stayed virtually identical for tens of thousands of years. And so the Vedic and the Norse, when you look at the names of the gods, you find out they're the same name. Indra and Thor, same name. Sounds totally different, but it's the same name. Thor is a contraction of Thu-Nar, which means Lord Nar of Thu, which is the drop of ambrosial nectar, or the moon. Indra is In Thu Ra, which is in, which is full, Thu, which is drop of ambrosial nectar, and Ra, which is king or sun. So he is the king of the full moon, in Thura, and Thunar is lord of the moon. Same word, different pronunciations, slight different, different adding. Same word, same God. That's it in a nutshell. If you want to do more, you're going to have to read my books and or spend more time on my channel, because if you've been on my channel for a while, you'd know this already. Welcome. All right. Riho Rasta, can you please share about how to do Qigong while walking, moving? I decided to start experimenting with it. I practiced shamanic walking with a fixed attention. You don't need me. I mean, Qigong is Qigong. If there's a Qigong walking, moving thing, then, stick with that. So that's not really, I'm not an expert in that, so you probably already know more than I do. Riho Rasta question, I have one planet very close to the Atmakaraka. Could it also give a small effect as a soul significator? Well, yeah, they're both sort of fighting for that place of Atmakaraka, but we give it to the one that has the highest number of degrees, but it doesn't mean the other one isn't influential. It is influential. But technically, it's the Bratra Karaka because it's second in degrees. So if we're getting really specific about it, we have to stick with it. There's an Atma Karaka and then there's a Bratra Karaka. In general, yeah. What is that? All right, I guess you're answering that you already know more as much as I do. So yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to compete with anybody. So you won't hurt my feelings if you don't take my course. Supernova dust. Can you please write the word question, because otherwise I have to pass it by because I'll miss it. I miss questions all the time because people are talking over each other and I don't see the word question. Oh, she wrote it afterwards. Sorry. Can you please give me an advice on beating an addiction? I don't know what addiction it is. Tell me what the addiction is and I'll tell you. What teaching or techniques can you suggest? Tell me what your addiction is and I'll tell you. So while we're waiting to find out what Supernova's addiction is, we are going to, let's see, is there anything else that I need to talk about? No, because all the other stuff I'm going to talk about is going to be is kind of eclipsed by this whole lockdown thing. So lockdown is really the only thing that we need to do. Porn. I would recommend you get counseling. If it's truly an addiction, and we're talking like there's like it's getting in the way of you being able to function. Like you can't work, you can't, you just, and it's so screwing with your head, and it's destroying your ability to have relationships. It definitely destroys people's ability to have sexual relationships sometimes. I'm assuming you're younger than I am, so if you're a lot younger than I am, the further you go back, the younger that people get, the more damage it seems to be doing. When I was a kid, all we had were magazines, so wasn't a whole lot you could do. Nowadays, from the moment you're 4 years old, you're getting just bombarded with it. I mean, so it's really messing with people's brain chemistry and their ability to have relationships. You can't fix that on your own. So if you're trying to tell me, oh, do this and breathe this way and look at this and say that, it's going to fix it. Anything I tell you is like telling somebody with, skin cancer to take aspirin. It's really not going to do a whole hell of a lot. You need help. So I would suck it up, and I would get over the embarrassment, and I would go get help. There's no shortage of counselors and psychologists who deal with this. And I would treat it very seriously if it's an addiction, like you say it is. And I would also remember that you're not capable of fixing yourself. Even a brain surgeon needs to get another brain surgeon to do brain surgery on them. You can't do brain surgery on yourself. So you need to get help. That's the short answer. So, there. Compsognati. Question. Do you think certain sleep schedules or patterns are more effective for building spiritual power? That sounds more like you're perhaps introducing your opinion than asking my question. Because if you come on here, you know that one thing I ask people to do is ask questions about things I teach. So I don't teach anything about that. I don't know if you've watched my channel or not, but I don't teach anything about that. So, but it also sounds like a setup question. Let's see. And then you're asking, oh, you've been on here because you're asking Celestial Qigong. Do you think it's better to do the Celestial Qigong practice at the same time every day? So the answer to your first question is, I'm more interested in knowing what you think. Since I don't teach that, I don't have an opinion on sleep patterns. So I'd be interested to hear your opinion, since sounds like you have one. And then you ask me, do I think it's better to do the Celestial Qigong practice at the same time every day? I think it's a good idea to generally do it at the same time every day. It's not the same as doing a mantra. Like some mantras, you have to do it at the same time every day, in the same place, in the same direction, But I don't treat Qigong that way, but I do know that what happens with me is that, the chemicals, you create, speaking of sleeping cycles, you create a cycle in your brain in terms of the chemicals that you release, and they try to be released around the same time. So if you generally do, let's say, Qigong at, 7 o'clock at night, then every night at 7 o'clock, your body's already getting revved up to go do it. So it's in your best interest to do it at the same time every night. But I'm not aware of any, like mandate. So to answer your question, yeah, it is better. Dean Evans' question, do you think Thanos has a connection to Ketu? Totally. Totally. Yep. Of course, Thanos is I don't put Thanos and Ketu in the same boat. Thanos is a really cool character, but I don't know that I would put him in the same power as Ketu. But definitely, he's a definite manifestation of the Ketu type of energy for sure. All right, That's it for all the questions. I don't see any more questions. All right then. So I'm going to call it an afternoon, and before it starts raining, I think I'll go and take a walk on the beach and enjoy some fresh air before they take that away from us too. Holy crap. All right, so I gave you the Ganesha mantra, Ong Lambo Daraya Hum. And if you want to just focus on using that mantra weapon to wipe out the negativity and bring this lockdown to a swift close, then I invite all of you to do that. Do it every day. And remember that we've gone through the destruction and the death, and we're going to create a new life and new reality. So let's bring that into it instead of getting wrapped up in the oh my God. Let's just get out of that. All of the cleansing is being done. Let's focus on pushing behind that cleansing to create a better new world for everybody. All right, another question popped in. Saturn's Guru question: with your reading, my Arudha is Ketu, my Atmakaraka Rahu, my religion's community blackballed me. I can't seem to fake it just to fit in. If I fake it, I won't feel authentic. I don't see the question. That's interesting information. What is your question? I'll wait because I know that there's a time delay. And while we're waiting, we can think about, by the way, this is a really powerful mudra. You ever notice that if you watch like the Shark Tank, and just whenever, even a movie or you see somebody who's like a CEO, they'll do this? That's because this is a mudra where each one of these fingers represents a portion of the brain. A side of the brain, this represents this side of the brain, this represents this side of the brain, and each one of the fingers represents a different part of the brain. And when you put your fingers together like this, you're trying to connect all of the circuits of your brain at once so you can think with your whole mind. That's why in the Shark Tank, when somebody's talking about their business, they're doing this. Because they're trying to think in terms of, can that guy pull it off? How much money is he making? How much debt does he have? Is there a market for this? Can I manipulate into that? How much can I get him to do it? And how much money can I make off of him without paying him a whole lot? And instead of doing that, should I do it this way? They're using their whole brain trying to figure out what's going on. Saturn's Guru, I'm still waiting for the question. Are you writing it? I'll give it a few more seconds before I walk out of here. No, nothing. All right. So that's it for me, guys. I'm gonna put it out there. I'll share with you a technique. If you want to know a technique on how to get your life pushed to the next level, is you put yourself into an uncomfortable state, which is you go beyond what you believe your limitations are, and you put it out there. And what you do is you commit to something you can't take back. So I'm doing that every time that I come on here and I say, it is my goal now to make this channel the premier YouTube channel for spiritual information. I'm nowhere near what some of the other ones are, and so my first goal is to get 250,000 subscribers on this channel. I've barely got 20,000. So I need to times that by 10 and a half or something. So I'm putting that out there, and I want you guys to be thinking about how, just give me your good vibes. Give me your good vibes so that we can pull that off. When I get to the place when I only need my YouTube advertising income to survive, I'll give away everything for free. Teach everything. I'll release all the stuff for free. Right now I make about $100 a month. Gives you an idea. I got a long way to go. So just give me your good vibes for that. So I've just done it. I've thrown it out there again, which means I have to follow through. I can't back out because my ego won't let me. Compsognathi, I had no opinion on sleep schedules. Okay, so that's not a question. Saturn's Guru, do you have Instagram? I do have Instagram, thunderwizard.com. So I wanted you to answer the question here. If you're, I don't know why you're asking about if I have Instagram or not. I don't communicate. I don't like to have communication, with everybody. It would just take forever. So if you're trying to get me to talk with you privately, that's not going to happen unless you get a session with me. But I never heard what the question was on why you were asking me about that. Should be linking them together. I'm working on that. I don't know that you can do that anymore. Have YouTube directly linked. I have to go in there and I have to take the video and put it in manually. So if there's another way to do that, I'm not aware of it. All right, that's it for me, my friends. So everybody, don't get worried. Stay pumped, and let's get through this. All right, see you guys soon.